plantation. So in my work at the Cane River Creole National Historic Park, it was supposed to be a park to basically educate people on slavery and about going into sharecropping after slavery. But back in 92, 93, the black people of Natchitoches Parish wouldn't talk to the National Park Service. So the Creoles ran out there and sold their story of they are the forgotten people on the plantation. And there were no black people here. They gone. They weren't here. And the black people would not come out and contest that. So there, what are we going to name the park? We'll just name it the Creole National Historic Park. But when I got to town, that wasn't good enough for me. So what I did, we had 2 slave shacks left out of about 35 slave shacks on that plantation. These 2 slave shacks was where we lived. Sister Teresa lived in one, and we lived in the other one. They were the only 2 left. They had tore the rest of them down. These 2 was falling down until the Park Service took over and spent a ton of money rebuilding them. So when I got there, after 15 years, the Park Service just had restored them, and it was sitting over there empty. So I asked the Park Service, what are you going to do in my home? You got the big house furnished with fine French furniture. You made this place into a monument to the Prudhommes, the slave owners, and the Creoles who benefited from that, but you said nothing about black people. There were more black people on Cane River. We were like 200 to 2 on Cane River. After 1966, we all were gone. And when you drive down Cane River now, you figure, hey, ain't nobody down here but a few Creoles and some white folks. There's no black people down here. There never was here. We built that place. We built all the big plantation manors that you see you drove down there. Every one of the big plantation manors had about 20 or 30 slave shacks around it. And we were in those slave shacks building that money. So what I did, I made a model of a typical sharecropper's shack. And I did a book on plantation toys and talked about this. As kids, we made our own toys. We made our own clothes. We did everything. Black people on the plantation built everything, made everything. But when we left, nothing. Like those black people, they don't do nothing. They lazy, they didn't do nothing. So I came to the Park Service and said, tell you what we're going to do. Because you got a problem now. You have a black man with a lot of time on his hands. You got a problem. So I go to the superintendent and say, we got to do something with the slave shacks. First thing we got to do, we're going to take one of the slave shacks, you tell me which, I don't care because I lived in both of them, and we're going to make a sharecroppers museum. The next thing, well, Mr. Shields, you know how the interior department, you work for the interior department, you know how the budget works, it'll be 5 years. I say, don't worry about it, I got that. I got that. Say yes, and it's going to happen. She figured she would say yes, and it would take me 10 years to raise the funds to get it done. I was laughing all the way through. I went to the bank to take my money out. So I said, I got to do this now because I opened my big mouth, and she said yes. And I'm saying, oh my God. She really said yes, you know? I said, okay. So what we done on December the 15th, 2012, a year after we agreed to it, we had a grand opening of the first ever sharecroppers museum in the National Park Service. Ever. Okay? So, right now, people from around the world come there. Before, they had no reason to go to the slave shacks because they were just empty. Now they go there. It's talked about. It's written about everywhere. And of course, the Park Service takes credit for it, you know. I don't have a problem with that because what it means is that now we have a presence in a national historic park, which should have been ours to begin with. So slowly but surely, I'm helping to take it back. And this year, we, along with the Park Service money, we did the same thing on Magnolia Plantation, which was down near Melrose. We did the same thing to some slave cabins down there. We made Sharecroppers Museum. Next year, we'll open up another Sharecroppers home, but this time, we're going to have a 1840 slave home here and a 1940 sharecroppers home here. Why, when people walk in, they go in this one, and they will see how slaves lived in 1840. And they will come out and go in the other one, and to see the progress we made in 100 years as sharecroppers. So that's something that if you get a chance, you're going through Natchez, go down and take a look. But I really want you to go into the big mansion, see all the fine French furniture that we paid for. They didn't pay for it, we paid for it. We got picking money. And how they got it just laid out to the history of the Prudhoms. And now you will go over to the sharecroppers home and say, so this who paid for that? So people get a chance to figure out that this is where my great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents came from. So when I'm riding around town, being cool, my pants ain't in the right place, you would think and you would say, this is what my great-great-grandparents had to go through for me to pull my pants down? No, pull them up and be proud and keep fighting. And don't let people tell you you're nothing. Because all it takes is 2 or 3 people to get together and spend a little time chastising the authority to do the right thing. Okay? Why don't you take a look at this stuff? And I basically wrote a book on the toys we make. And I brought a couple of toys in. The kids can mess with those toys. They are not the ones that I'm going to get rich on. those that some are wrong, but they can drop them, they do what they want. But anyway, I want you to see them. But these were the toys that we made growing up. We made our own toys. And for the first time in the history of the Natchez Times, which was a 200-year-old all-white publication, to cover the grand opening of the Sharecroppers Museum, and to cover it on pages and pages of their newspaper. They never covered anything about black people in Natchez until that, because the Park Service was involved. They had no choice, because this was a monumental thing that happened in Natchez. And also got the Natchez Times to review the book that I put together on plantation toys and the life on a plantation. And they actually reviewed, for the first time they've done something like that. Now they're doing more book reviews. So they didn't know they could do it. So you can read that. That's our life on the plantation. And y'all need to think about that. Because I'm telling you right now, if we don't be careful, we will be right back on the plantation. We still have a plantation now working. It's called prison. And it don't take much to transform that to regular slavery. So be careful. Don't forget your past. And remember, if you forget it, they won't forget it, and they'll put you right